The purpose of this video is to break down the Northwest Spring Cypress market for an insurance client that we have. It's an Allstate client looking for about approximately 2,000 square feet of office space. Um, the value is rules the day. We need to get the best rental rate possible. We need to have a spot that has great access to the traffic, but at the same time is affordable. That's very difficult in this market because there's some great high dollar retail in this area. There are also there's also a very high income per capita as far as the residential population. So this lends itself to be a great area for retail. But at the same time, when you're an insurance company, you want to be in the same playground as the retail guys are, but you're not really a retail type business. You want the traffic, but your model's not set to pay for that level of rent. So we're trying to find that happy medium. And the good news is, in a lot of markets in Houston, this is one of them, where there's an office and retail mix that's very close together. And this is one of the biggest challenges we have for insurance companies that when we represent them. Everybody wants to go into super high dollar places. They'll look and they'll say, oh, look, here's a retail spot and it's great looking. Let me go ahead and step into this spot here. It looks great. It's next to a Smoothie King. It's next to H-E-B. It's next to a Kroger's. Big boxes are a big draw. Walmart, Kroger's, H-E-B, those type of things, Randall's, or a major bank. And they want to be in those type of properties. But then they look at the rental rates, and the rental rates are over $30 a foot. For a 1,300 square foot spot, if your rental rate's north of $30 a foot, you're talking about paying $3,500 to $4,000 a month. The average person that's an insurance company, they're budgeting maybe $2,000 to $3,000 a month tops, and that's their ceiling. So what do? Well, smart people are going to go into an office building, and I'm going to show you one play that I would do if I was an insurance company, and you should replicate this in whatever market that you're in. Now, I'll click on a few of these to highlight some. If you want more details, give me a call. But properties like this at Huffmeister Road, insurance companies like them. They're office condos. I'm not a big fan of them just because I don't like office condos. They're overpriced almost all the time. At 20 bucks a foot in this market, it's not on a major road. It's too far off. I think it works for medical office use, but for insurance, and it works for attorneys and whatnot. But for this price point, you can do better. If you like it, if it fits your taste, that's great. I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying for 20 bucks a foot, you can do much better, and I'll show you some examples of that. Let me show you another example of a standout here. That's a unique example. This is one example here of the Copperfield Professional Building. This is an older building. It must have been built in like 78 or 80. You can see the curb appeal here. It's not that great. It's average. But you know what? Properties like this, I believe, are worth a good hard look for insurance companies, and I'll tell you why. If you look at this part of town, for example, let's zoom in. If you look at this part of town in Copperwood, there's a lot of high dollar retail in this area. Okay, and not only is there high dollar retail, but I mean, you have big boxes here like PetSmart and Target, Walmart. You have these big boxes in this area. They're big, huge draws. And right in front of this very building, there's several big box retailers. Now, these big box retailers, the rental rate is north of 30 bucks a foot, all in. That's your gross rate. That's unaffordable for most insurance companies. But if you were to just offset a few hundred feet behind those developments, there's Copperfield at 15 bucks a foot, half the rate. So if we get you a 1,300 square foot spot here, you are right behind and just as accessible to all of these clients, all of these high income per capita potential clients that you want. You're right there, and you can get a great location at a much lower rate and still have access to all those people. Where you're saying, well, James, what about signage? No one can see my sign. They can't see it. That's where we need to talk about monument signage options. These are things we cover in negotiations so that we can find ways so people can see where you are. But insurance companies, you don't always have to be smack dab in the middle of a high traffic area. I know that that is popular and many times insurance agents are looking for needles in haystacks. But I'll tell you, more often than not, when you see a State Farm or an Allstate in a major development that's paying those type of rates, they don't stay very long. Either they're out of business because the rent was too high, or they end up opting to move to an office space where rent's cheaper. Why? Because they want to keep more of their money. Once you have a taste of those triple nets, you got to understand that when you have a retail center that draws in over 100,000 cars a day into their center, that's made for retail, and they're going to charge you for it. But the problem is, being an insurance business, you're not getting the full benefit of all that traffic. If there's 100,000 cars and there's 100,000 eyeballs looking at your Allstate or State Farm sign, that's great. But does that mean that you need to pay that much for it? Would it make more sense to just go ahead and spend more money on your marketing budget, spend more money on SEO, on mail? It certainly makes sense to, from my experience in dealing with insurance companies, it makes sense to me. The more successful companies that I've seen have more often than not been in office buildings. They have a nice foothold in an office building, and they have superior marketing. But if retail is your thing and you want to be in a high dollar market like this, you need to expect to pay almost twice as much as you may have originally budgeted. And if that's your decision, that's great. We'll find a location that works for you. But if you want a value play and still have access, since insurance is not an impulse buy, it's not like buying cotton candy where you just walk by a shop and say, "Oh, I got to have that." It's more of a, I know where I'm going to go before I get in my car. I know the address. I'm going to punch it in my phone. And when that's the case, just please ask yourself, do I really, really need to pay that premium? So with that being said, if you guys want more details on what the rates are in your area, what's a good fit for insurance companies, give me a shout. We'll get your report over to you as soon as possible.